Good morning. Welcome po sa press briefing ni Presidential Spokesperson Ernesto Abella. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Welcome back after the long weekend. This morning, we've invited Secretary Carlos Sani Dominguez. Secretary Dominguez has over 40 years of experience managing various organizations in the public and private sectors. He's a shareholder and board chairman or member of over a dozen corporations across various industries such as power, agriculture, mining, banking, hospitality, real estate, and investment. Notable positions held by Mr. Dominguez were Cabinet Secretary of the Environment and Natural Resources and Agriculture during the presidency of Corazon Aquino, the past president of leading Philippine corporations such as Philippine Airlines and the Philippine Associate Smelting and Refining Corporation, and the former Bank of the Philippine Islands Agricultural Bank. He has a master's degree in business administration from the Ateneo and attended the executive management program of Stanford. Members of the Malacañang Press Corps, let us give a warm welcome to Finance Secretary, Secretary Dominguez.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the Malacañang Press Corps. It's nice to be here. This is my first time. I have a short statement to make, if you don't mind. Over the next 6 years, we expect increased public spending to further boost overall growth performance. We need to rapidly build new roads, railways, ports to decongest our cities and reduce the logistics costs for the most basic goods of our people. While doing this, we aspire to expand and deepen the financial system. We need to broaden public access to banks and capital markets, support small business industries with accessible credit, and raise capital for industry. With the liberalization of our banking industry, we welcome partnerships with bigger banks in our part of the world. With the ASEAN financial integration, there is now an opportunity to take advantage of the regional population of more than 600 million people, to raise the production frontier and multiply our economies of scale. The new government has put in place a clear, coherent economic strategy to reduce poverty rates effectively in the medium term and lift the Philippine economy to high middle income status with the space of a generation. We call this the 10-point socio-economic program of the Duterte administration. With the growth momentum, a low inflation rate, stable currency, and strong political leadership, the Philippines earnestly opens our doors to do business with our neighbors. The new government has taken decisive steps to improve the ease of doing business in the country. This will allow us to respond helpfully to assist in the inflow of investments. The comparatively high growth rate sustained by the Philippine economy is due in part to the ample headroom for expansion. During the 2 decades of fiscal consolidation, we did not spend enough on building infrastructure. We need to do that today. There are numerous investment possibilities open to our regional partners. We have expanded our public-private partnership program to include unsolicited proposals from potential investors. The energy and transport sector are key areas needing more investments. Our banks are seeking new partners. Our primary industries are open to new ventures. Our recent trips to China and Japan have provided us opportunities from these 2 countries. There are 13 cooperation documents we signed in China, 3 of which I signed myself. Investment pledges from China is estimated at $15 billion, covering several projects in railways, rapid bus transport, real estate projects like smart city projects for the BCDA, and transportation and logistics infrastructure projects, power, telecommunication, hotels, steel manufacturing, port development, agricultural production, bridges, and other manufacturing industries. In Japan, I signed a 6.8 billion loan agreement for the Maritime Safety Capability Improvement Project for the Philippine Coast Guard, involving the supply of patrol boats and high-speed speedboats. Business-to-business deals worth 1.8 billion were also signed between our private sector and the Japanese companies. The deals consist of 7 letters of intent, 5 memoranda of understanding that would generate 250,000 jobs. This include a joint venture for a solar rooftop project, feasibility studies on the Clark Green City development, production of a wing van body sets for trucks and car manufacturing. Marubeni verbally committed to get involved in a 3.2 billion worth of projects and 14 billion medium and long-term projects in mass transport, roads, highways, water, and power. The DA also secured an annual supply of 5 billion pesos. Now I'm open for questions.
Questions? MPC? Barno, do you have question? Microphone, please.
Sir, among the big ticket projects, ano yung uunahin po ng Duterte administration?
Well, we received pledges from China for $6 billion worth of ODA and $3 billion worth of loans. Of course, you know, this is the first time we are doing ODA or official development assistance with China, so we don't have a complete list of projects yet. However, they have we have not submitted to them yet the projects. However, among the projects in our pipeline are a big irrigation project in the ARM in Mindanao. We have the 200 billion peso project for a railway from Manila to Bicol. And we have, of course, a lot of infra projects within the Greater Manila area. But our projects really are going to be aimed outside of Greater Manila area because we want to create jobs for people there, good jobs, so that we can reduce poverty in those areas. The infrastructure projects outside of Metro Manila will also connect the farmers and small businessmen in the outlying areas to the main consuming areas of Manila. So those are the projects, as I mentioned, for the China ODA pledges. Of course, as I said, there were $15 billion worth of private B2B or private sector to private sector in China, and these involve projects like a hotel chain opening here in the Philippines. I think they're aiming at 2,000 rooms. There are also projects of development of infrastructure in the Clark Green City area.
Sir, how do you respond to criticisms that some of the, at least 3 or 4 Chinese companies na nakadeal po ng Duterte administration during the last visit were actually involved in some issues pertaining to World Bank funded projects in the past?
I'm only aware of only what I read in the papers, and they only mentioned one. In fact, I called up the chairman of BCDA, Vince Perez, And I asked him about it, and he said, we are just in the stage of doing the feasibility studies. So there is no commitment that these companies are going to get the contracts. The feasibility studies were covered by an agreement I had with the Ministry of Commerce there, where the Ministry of Commerce agreed to fund for free for feasibility studies here. So this project with one of the companies that is supposedly had a problem with World Bank projects is only on the feasibility study stage. Once the feasibility study is done, according to Vince Dizon, sorry, not Perez, Vince Dizon, these projects will be bid out, and of course, if a company is not acceptable in the international field, they will not be able to bid for the project.
Besides, sorry, we all know that besides illegal drugs, the president is very concerned about corruption. So how do you vet the companies which enter into agreement with the Duterte government? President
Duterte has verbally agreed to designate the investment coordinating committee of the NEDA. The president is the chairman of the NEDA, and we have an investment coordinating committee there. And he has verbally agreed to designate that group to be the focal point of the management of our relationship with China. Once the president has actually signed an order to do that, the ICC will go to China and ask the Chinese government to designate a single focal point also in China, so that the dealings can be government to government. And the ICC will ask the Chinese government to designate and accredit the companies that they believe can do the projects, to accredit them, so that the Philippine side will know which companies to deal with in China.
Thank you. Laila?
Yes.
Good morning. Sir, the U.S. has reportedly stopped the sale of firearms to the Philippines because of concerns over human rights. Do you have concerns that actions like these would extend to business deals, trade agreements, because of the changing ties between the U.S. and the Philippines? And what are you going to do, or what do you plan to do to ensure trade and commerce between the two countries won't be affected?
Well, first of all, I just know what I read in the papers about the supposed concern of the U.S. And its effect on the sale of the firearms. First of all, my understanding is that the Senator Cardin, I think that's his name, has indicated concern, but I don't believe he has said he will stop it. I think their system in the U.S. is the same as here, where a senator can express concern, but that doesn't necessarily stop the deal. So I'm not really sure. I just know what I read in the papers. Secondly, I'm sure the police chief will, the police general will report this to the cabinet in our next meeting. The next point I want to bring out is that there are many business transactions between the Philippines and the U.S. And actually, these business transactions are really based on mutual benefit to each other. And I think they will continue if there is a mutual benefit. If the USA, manufactures, like for instance, Texas Instruments, they have a big manufacturing facility in Baguio. I think they will continue manufacturing here if the Baguio facility is cost efficient. Now, if it's not cost efficient, well, that's something else. I don't know exactly how these policies of the government will affect government on both sides will affect the business decisions. I have scheduled a meeting with the American Chamber of Commerce. I think it's supposed to be on Saturday. I'm not sure though if they have agreed to the meeting, but we're open to meeting with them and discussing with them all their concerns.
Sir, do you think the new foreign policy of the administration will change their attitude toward doing business or investing in the Philippines?
You know, I had a talk with State Department officials informally, and in my discussions with them, they encouraged us to have good relationships with China, with Japan, with all our neighbors. In fact, the U.S. State Department official mentioned to me that they have a very good relationship, but complicated relationship with each of these countries. You know, we are in discussions with everybody. I think the new policy of the president is to open doors to all. And his economic policy, particularly with regards to China, is very sound. You know, China has a population of 1.3 billion people. And they need products that are produced in the Philippines, agricultural products, as well in the future as manufactured products. So it makes sense for us to have a good relationship with them, just as the U.S. has a good relationship with them, and so have the Europeans.
Sir, last na lang, on another topic, the Japanese businessmen said they are looking forward to the lifting of economic restrictions in the Constitution so that they could invest here. Do you have a timeline on when you want this to happen, so to maximize their interest in investing in the Philippines?
Actually, there are two ways we can lift the restrictions in the Philippines. One is there are administrative restrictions. It's called a negative list. And these are areas where administratively the government does not allow more than X amount of percent of foreign ownership. And the window will open for us to review that in May of 2017. And certainly the economic team is going to look at lifting administratively some of those restrictions. The other restrictions are restrictions that are from our Constitution. Now, that takes a little more doing, and frankly, we cannot put a timeline on it since this will be done in cooperation with the Congress of the Philippines, because they have to either, one, constitute themselves as a constituent assembly, or two, they will call a constitutional convention. So either way, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's going to take a bit of time. Now, according to the president, he wants to open all areas of the economy to foreign investment, with the exception of land, which is a very cultural and touchy issue. So I hope I answered your question there.
Questions? JP Bencito, Manila Standard. Microphone, please. Thank you.
Hi sir, good morning. Sir, meron na po ba tayong listahan ng administrative restrictions that we're eyeing to remove for next year, yun doon sa May 2017 na meeting po ninyo?
We will have that list in about a month's time. The department is going over that list first, and then we will discuss it with the members of the economic team of the president, which includes NEDA, the budget, and the line departments such as the OTR, Department of Public Works and Highways, and Department of Agriculture, etc. So we don't have a definitive list yet at the moment, but as I said, in May of 2017, the window for reviewing this will be definitely open.
Sir, on another topic po. Sir, the peso has been on a slide for it's the 7-year low. It's 48.61 last October. Sir, do we see this as a weakening of the peso now that the president's statements are veering towards separation with the United States and dealing with other partners, sir?
As you know, there have been talks about the U.S. increasing the U.S. Central Bank, which is called the Fed, increasing their interest rates. And actually, with speculation such as that, practically all currencies in the world have slid against the U.S. dollar. The Philippines, in the last month, actually from September 21 to October 28, went down by 1.5%. The Thai baht went down by 1%. The yen went down by 3.5%. So across the board, across the world, currencies have been depreciating against the U.S. dollar. And primarily, it's because of the potential increase in interest rates in the U.S. dollar. People are buying U.S. dollars in order to be able to position themselves if and when the Fed increases interest rates in the U.S. So that is one of the reasons, okay? And I think that's the major reason for the slide in the peso. Secondly, the slide in the peso is not all bad. You know, you have how many? About 11 or 12 million OFWs who send money home, and that's $25 billion a year, more or less. You have a BPO industry that earns close to 23 billion US dollars a year. And, when the peso slides, let's say 50 centavos, that means to say you have 25 billion more pesos in the Philippines for people to spend, for people to buy condominiums, for people to spend for education for their children. So it's not all bad. Agricultural products that are exported will certainly benefit. So it's not a slide in the peso. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Benji Liwanag, DCBB.
Sir, good morning.
Good morning.
Sir, on the infrastructure project, which is one of the thrust of the Duterte administration for public spending, now will this not affect again our problem in traffic, especially in Metro Manila, while the president still wait for the emergency powers from the Congress?
Now, the infrastructure spending is because we have what we call an infrastructure gap. You know, the amount of infrastructure that we need in the Philippines is really tremendous. Okay, you just go outside of Metro Manila. You see the condition of the roads, the bridges, the ports, the airports there, power, telecommunications. These are all infrastructure. This is to connect the country together physically so that goods can flow physically, so that costs will go down. We really have a problem, okay? So most of the infrastructure will be spent outside of Metro Manila because we want to raise people out of poverty, and the poor people are outside. I'll give you an example. The gross national income per capita per year in the Metro Manila area is 400,000 pesos. Do you know what it is in the ARM? Give a guess. It's 26,000. Yes, sir. About 5% of what it is in Metro Manila. Yeah. So that's why we have problems there. We have problems of poverty, we have problems of rebellion, we have problems, and because there is no infrastructure. So we want to put more irrigation there, more roads, so that people can be more interconnected. So this gap has to be closed. And that is why the thrust of the president is really to raise people out of poverty. And I think that's what he's doing. You know, the president has only 3 goals. The first goal of the president is to raise people out of poverty. The poverty rate has been over 20% for many, many years. It's very hard to bring it down. And we are going to raise the poverty by doing partly the socio-economic plan. The major factor there is, number 1, we have to bring in more infrastructure. Number 2, we have to implement the RH law. Okay, we have to improve investment in education. We have to improve investment in social services. So that's how the president will tackle the first goal. The president's second goal is to make this country more law-abiding. Maybe like Japan, where people voluntarily obey the law. So he's going after the worst violation of crime in the country is the narcotics trade, because it destroys families, it destroys people, it destroys the future. So he's really going after that, and the goal is to make the country really more law-abiding. And his third goal is to achieve peace. Peace with the NPA, peace with the Islamic separatists, and peace with our neighbors. So those are really the 3 goals of the president. And if you look at him, all his actions are focused on that.
Sir, next, BPO is asking an audience with the president.
Yes.
Kailan po mangyayari ito?
I'm not the one who schedules the president, but I'm sure it will happen. Now, I understand other groups like the Makati Business Club have also been asking for audiences with the president. Now, the Department of Finance is holding a Philippine Development Forum in Davao City for November 8 and 9. And I would like to invite all these groups to participate in the Philippine Development Forum, because there they can air their concerns and we can discuss the future direction of our country. In this forum, we're also going to be inviting a lot of other NGOs. We are going to be inviting World Bank. We're going to be inviting ADB. We're going to be inviting foreign embassies, so that we can all discuss with the international and the local community the direction of the Philippine economy. And the groups such as the one you mentioned are welcome to participate.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Ian, microphone. Thank you.
Hello po, sir. Do you have any idea po kung kailan po magre-reconvene yung LEDAC and kung ano po yung mga agenda?
Soon, I hope. Soon, because we have a lot of pending legislative issues. And I was told by the executive secretary, that we were supposed to convene, I think, on the 4th or the 7th. I'm not really exactly sure, but he was going to let us know when the LEDAC is going to be convened.
Sir, 4th and the 7th of this
4th
month.
or the 7th, if I remember right.
Of this month, sir.
Yes.
Okay po. Sir, pero wala pa pong list po nung agenda po, mga agenda po.
It's with the executive secretary. I suppose there will be a long list of agenda items on both sides, from the House and from the Senate, as well as from the administration.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, no more question. Leo, John Sisante, May 7, then Leo.
Sir, just going back to what you mentioned earlier about the scheduled meeting with the American Chamber of Commerce, may we know what some specific items on the agenda?
They
if
asked
it
for the
will push us
meeting.
through? Okay.
I've actually met with them already before. I think in August, August 9th, I met with the AmCham already. And again, you know, we explained our 10-point economic program, which they seem to like. I don't know exactly what we will discuss now on Saturday, but we'll see.
Leo Palo?
Sir, habol ko lang dalawang question lang. Is it safe to say na mabibigo itong mga financial analysts all over the world against the Philippines dun sa sinasabi ninyong pag-slide ng peso against dollar?
I don't know what's your question exactly.
Is it safe to say na mabibigo sila? They will fail dun sa
You know,
kanilang...
this is all speculation and a bet, okay? That's not, I don't do that. I don't speculate. But I think that, you know, if you look at the fundamentals of the Philippines, we are in a very good position, okay? Number one, the inflation rate is low. Number two, our currency is basically stable, okay? I mean, going up and down a little bit within a band of 2% is okay. We have a very young, intelligent, active population, okay? Compared to other countries in the world, I think we have a very good workforce in the Philippines. We have very stable and good macroeconomic policies. We have a budget that is solid. Okay. People are saying, what about the foreign debt? Okay, our total foreign debt is $77 billion. Okay, our total foreign reserves is over $86 billion. So I don't think there's too much to worry about, okay? Next, our total foreign debt right now is roughly 43% of our GDP. When I was Secretary of Agriculture, our foreign debt was over 70% of our GDP. So we're in a fairly good position. Anyway.
So baliwala po yung kanilang mga sinasabi, yung kanilang basis that dahil doon sa inaaway ng Pangulo natin.
When you look at the fundamentals, it's really hard to see where we could go wrong, okay?
Okay, sir. Last na lang, sir.
Yeah.
Under mo po ang Customs and BIR. Ano
Yes.
pong marching order niyo for this last quarter?
Collect. Because we need the money to spend on the infrastructure. It's not collection so that we have a big bank account. We have to collect to spend on infrastructure. You know, when there is no infrastructure, people suffer. Okay, when you have a traffic situation like in Manila because of lack of infrastructure, the cost, according to JICA 2 years ago, the cost was 2.6 billion pesos a day. So that we cannot afford that. We better spend the money. But to spend the money, Captain Faldon has to collect, and Commissioner Dulay has to go out there and collect as much as he can. Thank you.
Okay. Henry?
Yeah, Secretary, just a follow-up dun sa tanong lang po ni Leo. How would you address corruption at the Bureau of Customs? They are perceived to be the most corrupt agencies under your helm. Paano ho ninyo inutusan si Commissioner Paeldo na mag-zero corruption siya doon sa BOC?
You know, I'll tell you, I used to be DNR head. And one time I had a talk with the people in the DNR because noon, corrupt din yun. I don't know what it is now, but at that time, the image of the DNR was very corrupt. So, you know, we were talking of corruption and everything. And one of the guys raised their hand and says, alam mo nyo, kami, we are like a river. If the source of the river is dirty, all of us will be dirty. So I think it has to start at the top. A good example at the top that people do not accept bribes or are clean. I think the leadership factor is very important, number one. Number two, we have to be smart about catching corrupt people. You cannot always catch them like, playing cops and robbers. We have to catch them by going after checking their lifestyle, checking their bank accounts, checking how many cars they own, right? We have to do forensic analysis. That's why part of our legislative agenda is to make sure that the laws or the privacy laws on bank accounts will allow the government to look into the bank accounts of people that have very strong evidence of corruption or tax evasion. If we do not do that, we can hardly catch them. So we are going to ask the legislature to please loosen up to allow the government to look into the bank accounts of people suspected of corruption, tax evasion, and crimes like that.
So, Secretary, ipapa-lifestyle check nyo ang mga taga Bureau of Customs?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Secretary Dominguez. Presidential Spokesperson Ernesto Abella.
Thank you very much.
All right. Right. We'd like to give a brief summary of statements that the President made on several matters. He said he was thankful to former President Ramos for serving the country despite his age, and that he would continue to listen to the former President's advice, although he would continue also to pursue his own track. The letter, which was submitted to the Office of the Executive Secretary, was itself civil and respectful, and I'd like to quote a few statements. Given that your state visit to the PROC was officially wide-ranging, which has resulted in renewed bilateral relations between our two countries, kindly allow me to step down as the special envoy of the President to the People's Republic of China. We'd like to believe that the efforts of our team of the special envoy played a modest but productive role in the breaking of the ice that led to your successful visit. This letter is my resignation as your special envoy to China, but more important, it is also an affirmation of my full support of the national interests and of our Team Philippines of 100.5 million Filipinos that you now lead. Based on the statement, the President and former President FBR continue to have a solid and respectful relationship as we course a new phase in our evolution as a nation and Filipino society. Next, regarding the U.S. State Department's reported decision to stop the sale of assault rifles to the Philippine National Police, the President made reference to the availability of other sources for the same material. As to the matter of this being turned into an HR issue, an invitation has already been sent to the UN inviting them to come and see for themselves. However, the invitation itself does not preclude a careful process on procedures to be agreed upon between the Philippine government and the UN. Number 3, regarding checkpoints, just a mere clarification. There will be no more fixed checkpoints, but when and where necessary, mobile checkpoints can be set up from point to point depending on the need of the hour. Thank you very much.
Questions?
Yes.
Rose Novenario. Yung microphone, Benji, please. Microphone.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, may sinabi po
excuse
kagabi si President Duterte na nais niya ipasuspinde yung Deputy for Intelligence ng Bureau of Customs. Ano po kaya yung dahilan nito at sino po itong opisyal na kanyang tinukoy?
Excuse me.
I think, yeah.
Sunny? You can answer who? All right.
Secretary Dominguez.
I think there is no there is only a OIC Deputy Commissioner of Intelligence. Intelligence ba yun? Intelligence, yeah. There's only an OIC right now. But a new OIC will be appointed actually today.
Sir, sino po yung i-appoint na bago at sino po yung tatanggalin as OIC?
We will release that this afternoon.
Hindi po pwedeng ngayon.
Hindi, mamaya hapon na. I'm the one to sign that order.
Okay ba, thank you. Sir, ano po yung reason ng pagkakaalis po dun sa officer in charge?
Well, we're not privy to that matter. Thank you.
Okay.
Question?
Next.
Next question. Laila?
The Panatag Shoal issue, what steps will the government take to ensure that the fact that Philippine fishermen can access the area will be made permanent and even go beyond the 6 years of the Duterte administration?
Well, presently, it's going by the friendly agreement that has been raised. So we'll proceed along that lines.
When will we bring up the arbitration ruling?
It will be raised up when necessary, as he has said so. Okay.
Follow-up, Jam?
Sir, regarding the Panatag Shoal, fishermen are allowed to fish around the area,
Yes.
but they're not allowed to actually go to the shoal. They're still barred by the Chinese Coast Guard. May we know why this is the situation? And what was agreed upon regarding the continued presence of the Chinese Coast Guard? Why do they remain there?
Well, nothing official has been declared regarding the matter. So, but the fact remains that as the president has promised, the fishermen are now allowed. The fishermen are now free to harvest in the areas.
Okay, Laila.
But sir, is there any guarantee that
At this
On
stage,
the
we're not
length of
talking
time.
guarantees. We're just going by the fact that the fishermen cannot just go back.
does this mean at any day they can be barred again from going there?
Let's just put it this way. According to the present arrangement, they just go and fish.
Okay, Marlon?
Just to clarify, but there is no formal agreement
Not that
between the
it's-
two governments.
Not that we have knowledge of. No formal agreements. Yes.
So yung pagpayag po ng Chinese Coast Guard for Filipino fishermen to venture into that area is just temporary.
We don't know if it's temporary, but at this stage, it's allowed. And as the president said, if and when the time comes, not if and when the time comes that they need to be discussed, the president will not go beyond the rulings that have already been accredited to the Philippines.
Sir, did the president ask the Chinese government to order the Coast Guard ships to leave that area?
They had their own conversation. They had their own conversation of which we're not privy to.
But it's between President Duterte and President.
Yes.
Thank you, Marlon. Ian? Microphone.
Sir, why is the president flying to Thailand po?
To give honor to the king, to the late king.
Sir, in the economic aspect po, may ano po yung parang dahilan po bakit po siya pupunta po ng Thailand?
I don't think that there will be any discussions along that matter. I think it's just he's just paying respects. I think it's just a very brief meeting.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Benji Liwanag?
Sir, with the resignation of former President Ramos as special envoy to China,
Yes.
tinanggap na po ba ito ni President Duterte?
Well, he has said thank you. You know, he has
Okay.
actually given his appreciation.
So it's formally, he's resigned as special envoy?
In terms of actual statement that has accepted it, we don't have that, but he has apparently received and he has said thank you for the efforts.
So we're going to wait until Executive Secretary Medialdea will, what do you call this, address that problem.
I think that would be the better thing to do.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
JP?
Sir, balik lang po ako dun sa Scarborough. Sir, in the past administration, the United States is trying to build a concession na hindi na to prevent Chinese Coast Guard from blocking off Filipino fishermen. But now in this new administration, sir, President Duterte himself brought the issue to China and apparently merong nangyari. Was there any failure on the Washington side na parang they've done nothing in the past administration in how many years?
It's not for us to comment on whether the the China-U.S. relations. We can only comment on Philippine PROC relationships.
But
It's not
sir-
for us to comment on that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. No more
Thank you.
question? Tina Mendez, Philippine Star.
Sir, sa ngayon po, how would you classify yung pagbalik ng mga fishermen sa China? Ay, sa Scarborough. Sa Scarborough Shoal, I mean. Ay, sa boundaries lang, not inside the Scarborough Shoal.
Let's just put it this way. The fishermen are back to fishing again. And I think at this particular stage, we can say the president has said, has done his part in saying, antayin nyo lang, makakapangisda na rin kayo ulit.
Pero sir, this cannot be seen as an assertion of ownership.
Which one?
O territorial ownership sa Scarborough from China or
As far as I know,
Philippine side.
nobody owns the place. You know, these are just economic rights that you're accessing. Yes.
Thank you, Tina. Marlon?
Sir, update lang daw po dun sa EO on the ban nationwide
On
ng smoking.
Okay, we'll get back on. I think it will be discussed in the next, on the next cabinet meeting.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, last night the president made it clear again na yung concerns niya when he ran for the presidency was illegal drugs, corruption, and anti-criminality. Just last night and the other night, 6 people were killed by masked men. Yung incidents na to were not the cause of actions ng any law enforcement agencies, but assassins, masked men na pinatay yung mga tao dun sa isang lugar sa Makati, sa Mandaluyong. Paano i-address to ng Duterte administration to yung klase ng killings na to which are no longer related to the government's anti-illegal drug
It should be part of the process of the, that comes especially under the Philippine National Police. Okay? It will undergo to the normal processes of investigation.
Sir,
go ahead.
Okay.
No, I was going to say that I'd like now to answer those questions that were asked the last time. There were 3 questions. First, about the ambush death of Maguindano Vice Mayor. The investigation is currently going on. Initial accounts point out that the convoy of Mayor Dimocum was peacefully stopped for inspection during a checkpoint, but they opened fire with local police. Number 2, regarding the presence of Mr. Marcos, Sandra Cam, and Grepor Belica in the China delegation list, they were not part of the president's official list of delegation to China. However, they went there on their private capacities. The third question about China Communication Construction Company has already been sufficiently answered by Secretary Dominguez. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Malacañang Press Corps. Thank you, Secretary Carlos Dominguez. Thank you, Presidential Spokesperson Ernesto Abella. Back to our main studio sa Radyo ng Bayan and PTV 4.
Thank you.